My name's Kris Krohn, and I've had the privilege over the years to mentor with a lot of different people. And my secret to success has been actually quite simple. Go find people who have achieved things that I could only dream of, and then either pay or find a way to get into some kind of relationship with them and then just suck that knowledge right out of their head and then just start playing at a whole nother level. I'm a huge believer in mentors. And today I felt inspired to make a video about Tony Robbins, because out of all the people I've mentored with, I've probably paid, other than one other individual, probably paid more money to his organization, multiple six figures, to actually be able to mentor and grow with him. And when you look at people that are as successful and as iconic as Tony, there's a lot of skepticism out there, and then there's also a lot of raving fans. And today I wanted to share with you really at the heart of who I think Tony Robbins is. Some people want to know, is he legit? Is he a scam? And for someone that's paid as much money as I have and who's had an opportunity to dive into the deepest corners of his masterminds, I'm going to share with you today my experience.
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
You know, despite having made a lot of money in real estate, having done thousands of deals, many successful transactions, a lot of people look at me and they assume, oh, Kris is a really successful business owner. But the reality is any business owner really knows that even if you have a lot of revenue coming in, that doesn't mean you're keeping it. In fact, for many years, my business was really suffering and hemorrhaging. And that's why I've sought out mentors, looking for people that could help me out, figure out how to fix my business. And in walks Tony Robbins through a friend of mine, Gerald, who said, Kris, it's $10,000 to go to this business mastery event, and some of the most successful people are there. And for 5 or 6 days, Tony Robbins is going to be on stage, and he's really going to teach you from a man who's done hundreds of millions in business, might even be a billionaire. He's going to mentor you on how to do business more successfully. And I always knew that I was eventually going to get to Tony. I'd already spent a couple $1 million with some other mentors. So I decided to say, okay. In fact, I asked my wife, I was like, hey, honey, I'm going to be gone. You know, you got 4 kids, right? So like, I'm going to be gone for a week. How would you feel if I take off for a week and do this business thing? By the way, it's 10 grand. You know, compared to most other people out there, that's pretty expensive for a week-long seminar. And my wife checked in and she's like, you need to go have that experience. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I was at this event, and from the first hour of the event, frankly, I was blown away with the content, the training, the relevancy. I started taking notes like crazy. I felt really inspired with everything that I was learning. And by the end of the second day, they had told us that Tony actually has a year-long, platinum mentoring program, a mastermind. And called up my wife. I said, hey, honey, between the cost of the thing and all the travel expenses and this whole next year, I'm going to be gone for 30 or 40 days from the family, and it's going to cost us 6 figures plus. What do you think? And thinking that my wife would probably just say, you're going to be gone for 30 or 40 days of an entire year and travel around and have all these expenses and, this mastermind, that's going to be a lot of money. Is that really what we want to do? But, she checked in and she said, there's something that feels right about that. And so I decided to join the mastermind. It's always nice when you have your wife supporting you. It's interesting being a public speaker and also an investor, but also owning many other businesses and also putting on a lot of personal development events. I was like, this is a great opportunity to learn from one of the best masters in the world today who's at his prime. And so we really dove in and really joined this mastermind. The very first event that I went to, as opposed to some of Tony's events that have 10, 15,000 people or business masters, thousands of people, now I was in this tiny little platinum group and there's 300 of us, which means a really small room, which was very exciting to be I actually have a shot of getting called on now. And I was at this financial retreat where Tony was bringing in these billionaires. There are people I met that said, oh yeah, I basically pay the entire membership fee, almost $100,000, just to attend this one event. And I thought, how can someone deliver enough value over the course of an event like this to be worth that much money? I was skeptical, I'll be honest. And so I showed up, and there's a lot of excitement in the room. And Tony walks in and the day gets started and we immediately hop in the first exercise. And at the end of the exercise, he said, oh, let's get a couple of hands to share what you learned. And I put my hand up and whoom. And the moment Tony locked eyes on me and started walking towards me, I was like, wait a second, I just wanted to make a comment. I was just gonna share my experience. And he had me stand up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here I am literally in the middle of a Tony Robbins intervention, and I'm the subject. You know, what really came out was this frustration that I was feeling in my business between me and my employees, frustration of how they were showing up versus how I was showing up, and they weren't always meeting my expectations. And at the heart of it, you know, Tony starts diving into my childhood, my past, and turns out that my father had a really perfectionistic model of the world that I wasn't living up to, so I had adopted it and was trying to force it upon myself and my employees and other people. And long story short, an hour later, I had made the decision, I am firing myself. It's time for me to go from being a business operator to being a business owner. It's time to empower my people and help them grow. And long story short, by the end of the year, my business grew 400%, which is growth I had never seen before in my life. And that meant that we were on shaky ground moving into crazy profitable levels that I'd never experienced before. That experience was indicative of my entire experience for the year. Having the year to travel around the world with Tony and try on just about every event that the man produces, my experience has been nothing short of profound and most certainly life-changing. After I concluded my year, got to celebrate all of these great results, loved who I was becoming on the inside, finding deeper fulfillment, my wife and I starting our charity, I got invited to be part of a very small group of people called the Platinum Lions. And there's only 40 Lions, which is basically the smallest mastermind that Tony Robbins runs. I want to share this final thing with you to really help you understand who this man is, because when BuzzFeed is on the attack or the Me Too movement or a lot of people misunderstand Tony, it's because his methods aren't always the most tactful, because the man loves you enough to be direct and candid and say what needs to be said. And that's been my experience of Tony. I think you can take anything out of context and say, what's going on here? And why would that be an appropriate statement? And out of context, like most things in life, the things just don't make sense. You gotta be there, and that's part of the magic of being a transformational artist like Tony is, to produce life-changing experiences. And as a Lion, I had a chance to go to Tony Robbins' house in Florida for a weekend. And during that weekend, Tony not only provided like just the most amazing intimate space for interaction and training and questions, but he brought in Mike Tyson to do some talking and training with us, and Conor McGregor, one of the best fighters of all time in the UFC. Also had a chance of bringing Kevin Hart, who I wish he would have even cracked a joke while he was there, but it was all business on how he's become this, comedian superstar. These are experiences that you can buy, but probably for a whole lot more money. It's amazing. I feel privileged that I had that opportunity. I would have to say though that my appreciation and gratitude for Tony Robbins probably comes down to one principle that has had more impact on me than anything else. And he calls it the power of proximity. And Tony has taught me that if I will take the time and effort to connect with people meaningfully, because that's what he taught me in my intervention, if I'll take the time to see the value in people and then reach up and find the most successful people and connect with them, that amazing, nearly unthinkable things can then happen. The impossible actually becomes possible. Through that organization, just at that last event, I met 3 business partners that we are all engaged in multiple businesses with, people that I love, admire, and respect. And I wouldn't have met those people if it hadn't been for Tony Robbins. Tony has gathered with his worldwide seminars some of the most amazing entrepreneurs, people on the planet that are committed to this spiritual journey of growth in their personal development. And even though we come from different ways of life and different religions and different backgrounds, we're all united in this journey of wanting to become better people. And I think that's the real testament of who Tony Robbins is. So normally at the end of my videos, I say, hey, click a link and get one of my books or join me at an event. But on this video, I just want to end it by letting the world know and all of my fans and followers and friends that Tony Robbins has been the most impactful mentor I've ever had in my life. My life has leveled up and upgraded in ways beyond what I thought were possible. I made my money back so many times over, but more importantly, I just love who I am becoming. I love the rapid progress that I've been able to integrate in my life. I love his immersive experiences. I love his big heart. The man's not perfect. There's some parts of his ideology I don't necessarily even believe in. But the reality is, what I've had to gain in my overall experience with Tony has been like learning 98% everything that's helping me grow, and maybe 2% the things that help me define my own character and my own purpose in life, where we differentiate from each other, which means it's all been useful and it's all been beautiful. So Tony Robbins, thank you so much. I know that this video, that I am just one of millions of people that could make a video and share these kind of words or other profound experiences with you. So just know that we support you, and no matter what you're ever gonna go through, when you become that successful, there's always gonna be a target on your back, but people who have had their lives changed will always stand up, and we got your back. Take care.